At least 14 countries' imports are set to face steep blanket tariffs starting August 1st, President Donald Trump revealed Monday. The president, in a series of social media posts, shared screenshots of form letters dictating new tariff rates to the leaders of Japan, South Korea, Malaysia, Kazakhstan, South Africa, Laos, and Myanmar. Later in the day, he shared another set of 7 letters to the leaders of Bosnia and Herzegovina, Tunisia, Indonesia, Bangladesh, Serbia, Cambodia, and Thailand. Goods imported to the U.S. from Japan, South Korea, Malaysia, Kazakhstan, and Tunisia are now set to face 25% tariffs, according to the letters Trump posted. South African and Bosnian goods will be subject to a 30% U.S. tariff, and imports from Indonesia will be hit with a 32% excise duty. Bangladesh and Serbia are both at 35%, while Cambodia and Thailand are set for 36% tariff rates, the president's letter said. Imports from Laos and Myanmar will face a 40% duty, according to the letters Trump posted on Truth Social showed. The letters Trump signed add that the U.S. will perhaps consider adjusting the new tariff levels depending on our relationship with your country. The letters are the first to be sent before Wednesday, the day his so-called reciprocal tariffs on dozens of countries were scheduled to snap back to the higher levels he had announced in early April. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said even more letters will be sent out in the coming days. Later Monday afternoon, Trump signed an executive order delaying the Wednesday tariff deadline until August 1st. The order says Trump made that decision based on additional information and recommendations from various senior officials. U.S. financial markets closed down on Monday. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 422.17 points, or 0.94%, to end the day at 44,406.36. The S&P 500 shed 0.79% to close at 6,229.98, and the Nasdaq Composite dropped 0.92% and closed at 20,412.52. For most of the countries, the new U.S. tariff rates hew fairly closely to what they had faced after Trump announced his Liberation Day tariffs on April 2nd. For instance, under those initial rates, U.S. imports from Japan were assigned a 24% tariff, and South Korean imports faced a 25% duty. Following a chaotic week of losses across global markets, however, Trump on April 9th issued a 90-day pause, which lowered the various tariff rates to a flat 10%. That pause was set to expire Wednesday, before Leavitt announced that Trump would extend it by more than 3 weeks. All of the letters say that the blanket tariff rates are separate from additional sector-specific duties on key product categories. The letters also say, goods transshipped to evade a higher tariff will be subject to that higher tariff. Transshipping in this case appears to refer to the practice of transferring goods to an interim country prior to their final shipment to the U.S. in order to skirt tariffs. The form letters assert that the new tariff rates are necessary in order to correct for persistent U.S. trade deficits with the 14 countries. Trump, an avowed tariff fan and a skeptic of free trade deals, regularly points to those deficits as evidence that the U.S. is being taken advantage of by its trade partners. Experts have criticized the view that trade deficits are inherently bad and question whether the U.S. can or should seek to close them. Not all of the countries targeted Monday have large trade surpluses with the U.S. While the U.S. in 2024 had a $68.5 billion goods deficit with Japan and a $66 billion goods deficit with South Korea, its deficit with Myanmar was $579.3 million, according to the Office of the United States Trade Representative. The U.S. is a major buyer of cars, machinery, and electronics from Japan and South Korea. Kazakhstan exports crude oil and metal alloys to the U.S., Malaysia sells America electronic components, and South Africa largely sends precious metals. Key U.S. imports from Laos include optical fibers, glasses, and clothing, while Myanmar's largest exports category is mattresses and bedding. Monday's letters preemptively warned the 14 countries not to respond to the new U.S. tariffs by imposing retaliatory duties on their own imports of American goods. If for any reason you decide to raise your tariffs, then whatever the number you choose to raise them by will be added onto the 25% that we charge, the letters say. If the countries eliminate their tariff and non-tariff policies and trade barriers, then the U.S. will perhaps consider an adjustment to this letter, according to the letters. These tariffs may be modified, upward or downward, depending on our relationship with your country, the letters say. You will never be disappointed with the United States of America.